Long ago, when human societies were just beginning to form, people struggled to turn chaos into order. Villages were small, laws were simple, and survival depended on trust and cooperation. But even in those early days, there was something people feared deeply: witchcraft. To many communities, witchcraft was not a superstition or a legend. It was believed to be a real and dangerous force. People thought witches worked with dark powers, powers that could bring sickness, destruction, and death. In some of the earliest villages, witches were sometimes tolerated. Not because people accepted them, but because they were afraid to confront them. A witch who believed she had power could threaten a community. In that sense, witchcraft sometimes worked like blackmail. People stayed silent because they feared what might happen if they did not. But as time passed, societies grew stronger. Villages became towns, towns became cities, laws were written, and governments began to organize themselves to protect the public. Once communities had the strength to defend themselves, they began creating rules and punishments against witchcraft. People believed witches were enemies of everything good in society. They believed witches tried to destroy religion, overthrow order, and replace stability with chaos, despair, and rebellion. A famous Christian thinker named Augustine of Hippo wrote about this struggle in a book called The City of God. In that book, Augustine explained that humanity lives between two forces. One is the city of God, a world built on faith, obedience, and goodness. The other is the opposing force, everything that rejects God and works against Him. To people in the ancient world, this was not just philosophy. They believed it described reality itself, and in their eyes, witchcraft belonged to that second force. The idea that witches should not be tolerated was already ancient. In the Bible, in the book of Exodus, a law states clearly, "Do not allow a witch to live." This command became one of the most famous statements about witchcraft in history. For centuries, many people believed it meant that witches were dangerous enemies of society, but fear of dark powers existed even before Christianity spread across Europe. In the ancient religions of Greece and Rome, there were strange and frightening gods connected with darkness, ghosts, and the underworld. One of them was Bendis, a goddess worshipped in Thrace. People said her arrival was announced by the howling of fierce black hunting dogs. Another was Hecate, whom the Greek writer Euripides called the queen of the realm of ghosts. She was connected with spirits, crossroads, and night magic. There was also Mormo, a frightening vampire-like spirit used in stories to terrify children. And there was Samurnus, a mysterious god believed to throw thunderbolts across the sky at midnight. The Roman writer Pliny the Elder recorded that people sacrificed dogs and even puppies to Samurnus in cruel rituals meant to calm his anger. Later, Augustine wrote that in his own time most people had forgotten this god's name, yet there were still reasons to believe his secret worshippers existed. A writer from North Africa named Marcianus Capella later claimed that Samurnus was actually the ruler of hell. He wrote this near the end of the 5th century, only a few years before the birth of Benedict of Nursia, the man who would later become famous for founding Western monastic life.